Okay, something is happening in American dating right now, and it has a name. Researchers are calling it the dating recession. In 2026, young Americans are dating less, committing less, and stepping back from romantic pursuit at a rate that is measurable and documented. This isn't a vibe. The Wheatley Institute and the Institute for Family Studies published a report on it, State of Our Unions. The dating recession and the numbers inside it are striking. Nearly half of young adults say a lack of confidence is personally stopping them from dating. Another 48% point to bad past experiences. And only about 1 in 4 say they can stay positive after a bad date or a relationship setback. That's crazy, right? A quarter. 1 in 4 people have what researchers would call dating resilience. The rest are carrying the weight of every previous disappointment into every new attempt. So yes, the recession is real. But here's the part the headline numbers don't tell you. This recession is not hitting everyone the same way. The reasons women are pulling back, the form that pulling back takes, and what it actually costs them to do it, all of that looks completely different depending on where a woman sits financially. The dating recession is class stratified, and once you see that, the whole conversation changes. Okay, before we go further, let's talk about what's actually on the table here, because the economics of dating are more concrete than most people realize. Dating app users who pay for premium features spend around $19 a month on average, according to research from Morgan Stanley. That's before a single date happens, before transportation, before a new outfit, before dinner, and roughly 35% of dating app users are paying for at least one platform. So the financial entry cost exists from the moment you open your phone. Now put that against the wage reality. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women working full-time in the United States earn a median of $821 a week. For women at the lower end of the earning spectrum, the math starts to look very different than it does for women at the top. That is the economic frame this documentary is built on. 3 class tiers, 3 completely different relationships to the cost of dating, and 3 distinct forms of opting out. We're going to walk through each one. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Hey! It's CJ, the creator of this channel. If you ever thought making money on YouTube requires fancy equipment, special software, a microphone, an expensive camera, and professional editing skills, I want to challenge you. This video right here is faceless. It was made using a software I made called topic2video.com. There is no camera and no host, not even a script writer or a voice actor. It was made from a simple topic I thought of and was interested in. The visuals, the voiceover, the script, the music, the captions, the thumbnail, and the description were all generated automatically. Start your automated faceless YouTube channel with topic2video.com today. All right, back to the video. Let's start at the bottom of the economic ladder, where the financial pressure is most immediate and most concrete. For lower and working class women, dating is not simply an emotional endeavor. It is a budgeting problem. Think through what it actually requires. A dating app subscription, even at the $19 a month baseline. Transportation to and from a date, gas, rideshare, or bus fare. Clothes that present well, because first impressions are real, and the pressure to look a certain way doesn't disappear just because money is tight. And for the significant portion of working class women who are also single mothers, childcare. Every date that requires a babysitter is a date with a cover charge she pays before she ever meets the person. Against the backdrop of earnings that sit at or below that $821 a week median, and for many working class women well below it, none of these costs are trivial. They add up to a meaningful slice of a tight budget, and the dating app architecture makes it worse. These platforms are built on what's called a freemium model, which means the basic version is free, but the features that actually matter, who sees your profile, who you can message, how high you rank in the algorithm, are paywalled. If you can't afford to upgrade, the platform works against you. You are less visible, you match less. The app is designed to monetize your desire to connect, and if you can't pay, you are deprioritized. She reports feeling like she's playing a game where the rules keep changing and the house always wins. She puts in the time, the emotional energy, the few dollars she can spare, and the return feels increasingly uncertain. So she starts doing the math. Not cynically, rationally. And the math often says, not right now. The withdrawal at this tier is not apathy. She is not giving up on love or connection in some grand emotional sense. She is making a financially rational decision under conditions of real scarcity. Dating is being deprioritized the same way any discretionary expense gets deprioritized when the margins are thin. The ROI isn't there. And until something changes in the cost structure or in her financial situation, that calculation is unlikely to change. Now, move up the income ladder to middle-class women, and the financial picture changes. The costs don't disappear, but they become manageable. She can afford the app subscription. She can go on dates. She has money enough that the literal dollar cost of a dinner out is not a crisis. And yet, middle-class women are arguably the most emotionally burdened segment in this whole landscape. Here's why. The middle-class dating context is defined by a specific tension that's almost invisible until you name it. Middle-class women in 2026 are, in many cases, financially self-sufficient. They have careers. They pay their own rent. They do not need a partner to survive economically. That independence is real, and for most of them, it's a point of genuine pride. But the social scripts around dating haven't caught up. There is still a pervasive expectation, reinforced by culture, by family, by certain corners of online discourse, that men should lead financially in romantic relationships. He should pay on the first date. He should be the provider. He should earn more. And for a middle-class woman who is paying her own bills just fine, that expectation creates a contradiction she has to live inside. She feels the pull of the old script. She also knows she doesn't fit it cleanly anymore. And the men she's dating are navigating their own uncertainty about what is expected of them. The result is dates that feel like negotiations nobody agreed to have. Then add the accumulated weight of disappointment, because middle-class women came into the dating market with higher expectations to begin with. They expected the process to work. They did everything right: education, career, self-improvement, and somewhere in the back of their minds was the belief that those investments would eventually translate into a compatible partner. When the dating market doesn't deliver that, the gap between expectation and reality is not small. She reports feeling like she did everything she was supposed to do, and it still isn't working. And that dissonance is exhausting in a way that is hard to explain to people who haven't lived it. That's crazy, and it accumulates. The withdrawal here is not about money running out. It's strategic. She starts screening harder. She goes on fewer dates. She takes longer breaks between periods of active dating. She raises her threshold for who she believes is worth her time, because her time has real value, and she has learned through experience what it costs to spend it badly. Now move to the top of the economic ladder, and the conversation changes shape entirely. For upper class women, the literal financial cost of dating is effectively zero relative to their income. The app subscription is nothing. The restaurant bill is nothing. The clothes and the transportation and all of it noise. Money is not the barrier. So you might assume this tier has it easiest. And in some ways, those women would tell you, not exactly. The constraint at this tier is structural, not financial. When your wealth and status are visible, your job title, your neighborhood, the car you drive, the events you get invited to, she reports spending a lot of time wondering whether the person across from her is genuinely interested in her or in what she represents. Access, social lift, a certain kind of life that becomes available when you're adjacent to someone at her level. She describes it as a kind of relational suspicion that she didn't expect to feel this strongly and that she finds genuinely hard to turn off. You go into a date with your guard already halfway up, she says, not because you want to be that person, but because experience has taught you to be. Then there is the structural narrowing of the pool itself. Upper class women navigate a social expectation, hypergamy, that applies pressure to date at or above their own status. The problem is that the pool of men who meet or exceed the status of a high-earning, high-achieving woman is, by definition, a small pool. She feels that math. She feels what it means to be highly accomplished and to still be working inside a dating market where the combination of what she wants and what is available doesn't add up neatly. And then there's the visibility problem that comes from the gender wars discourse online. Upper class women are disproportionately represented in the online narrative about female hypergamy. The argument that successful women have priced themselves out of the dating market by having standards no real man can meet. She reports finding that framing reductive and often bad faith, but also loud enough that it creates a kind of background noise around her life. She describes it as a social tax she didn't ask to pay, being publicly characterized as the problem when she is simply living at a level she worked hard to reach. So, the withdrawal at this tier looks different from the other two. It's a deliberate exit from the conventional dating infrastructure, apps, casual dating, the whole architecture of modern romantic commerce, in favor of smaller, curated social environments where trust can develop on its own timeline. Or, for some women, a deliberate embrace of singlehood. She reports that stepping back from the system doesn't feel like failure. It feels like clarity. The cost is opportunity cost, what she gives up by stepping outside the structure. And she reports that cost starting to feel acceptable. Yeah, so let's zoom out and address the framing that surrounds all of this in 2026. Because you cannot talk about women opting out of dating without bumping into the gender wars discourse. And it is loud. On one side, you have the narrative about a male loneliness epidemic, men being left behind, unable to find partners, pushed to the margins of a dating market that no longer values them. On the other side, you have the counter narrative about female hypergamy and impossible standards, women demanding too much, pricing themselves out, getting what they deserve for rejecting regular men. Both sides of this argument are doing something similar. They are taking a complex, class-stratified, economically driven phenomenon and flattening it into a culture war. The actual driver is not a battle between men and women. It is a set of financial pressures and mismatched social expectations that play out differently depending on where people sit economically. And those pressures are being processed publicly through social media, which rewards anger and simplicity over nuance and structure. Working class women are pulling back because the financial cost of dating is genuinely prohibitive relative to their income. Middle class women are pulling back because the emotional cost of repeatedly navigating mismatched expectations has accumulated past a threshold they are willing to absorb. Upper class women are pulling back because the structural constraints of their tier, pool size, relational suspicion, the social cost of visibility make conventional dating feel like a bad investment of a different kind. None of those realities map cleanly onto a gender war. The gender war is the smoke. The economics and the social expectations are the fire. And as long as the conversation stays at the level of the smoke, the fire doesn't get addressed. Okay, so here's where we land. Women across all three tiers are opting out of dating in 2026, but they are opting out for different reasons in different ways with different things at stake. The Wheatley IFS research tells us that only 28% of young adults have genuine dating resilience right now. That means the majority of people entering the dating market are doing so with accumulated damage, low confidence, and limited capacity to absorb another setback. The question that remains is whether the market adjusts, whether the expectations evolve, whether the infrastructure gets redesigned. History suggests that markets do eventually respond to sustained withdrawal, but that process takes time. If you found this video helpful, I did a similar video about the economics of dating for men. You can check it out here. Hey, it's CJ, the creator of this channel. Before you go, I want to tell you something. The video you just watched, the script, the narration, the visuals, I made all of it with a tool I built called topic2video.com. And here's the honest story of why it exists. I wanted to make money on YouTube and I didn't know how. I wasn't a videographer, I wasn't an editor, and I wasn't interested in being on camera. But I kept seeing faceless YouTube channels building real audiences and real income. I knew there was an opportunity there if I could just get past the production wall. So I built the system I used to create this video, and once it worked for me, it made sense to share it. This is what topic2video.com does. You type a topic you're interested in, and the system researches it, writes a world-class script, generates a voiceover, builds the visuals, and puts everything together for you to publish to YouTube. No camera, no microphone, no fancy equipment, and no editing skills required. Try it for free at topic2video.com. I'll see you in the next one.